Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really big idea from Nobel laureate Amartya Sen, one that pretty much turns our whole understanding of progress on its head. It suggests that, well, for decades, we might have been measuring what it means for a society to do well with a completely wrong yardstick. So, to really get this idea, we're not going to start with some dry theory or a bunch of economic charts. No, we're going to start with a story, a really intense childhood memory that Amartya Sen shares, because it sits right at the very heart of everything he's trying to tell us. So this man, his name was Kader Mia. He was a Muslim day laborer who had wandered into a largely Hindu neighborhood in Dhaka. This was during the awful, violent riots right before the partition of India. He was just looking for work, for a tiny bit of money so he could feed his family.
And even as a little kid, Sen realized something really profound. Kader Mia wasn't just a random victim of violence. He was a victim of what Sen calls economic unfreedom. See, it was his family's desperation, the fact that they absolutely could not survive without his tiny daily wage, that forced him to risk his life by going into that hostile area.
His economic poverty directly led to his physical danger. And that brings us to the core question that drives Sen's entire way of thinking. Yeah, okay, the man needed money, but was a lack of cash his only problem? Or was there something much, much deeper going on? And this is where it all clicks into place. For so long, the standard view, right, is that development is all about the numbers. Gross national product, more money in people's pockets, more factories. But Sen says, no, that's a huge mistake. That's confusing the tool, the money, with the actual goal. The real goal of development, he says, is to expand human freedom. He calls these substantive freedoms. And this isn't just, being free from things. It's about having the actual real-world ability, the capability to live a life you have good reason to value. Think about it. The freedom to live a long and healthy life, the freedom to get an education, to be a part of your community. Those are the true signs of a developed society. Sen isn't pulling this idea out of thin air. He's actually building on a very old philosophical tradition. More than 2,000 years ago, Aristotle basically said the same thing. Wealth isn't the ultimate goal we're chasing. It's just a tool. It's only useful for what it lets us do and who it lets us become. Sen makes this super clear with a simple but really brilliant thought experiment. Okay, imagine you've got one job opening and 3 people who want it. First, there's Dinu. He's the poorest of the 3, so if you just want to reduce poverty, you hire him. Then there's Bishano. He's been made miserable by his situation, so if you want to create the most happiness, you'd hire him. But then there's Rajini. She isn't the poorest or the unhappiest, but she has a chronic illness that she could easily cure if she had the income from this job. So, who do you hire? If you picked Rojini, you're already thinking like Sen. You're using what he calls the capability approach. See, the point isn't just to give her money or make her happier. It's to restore her fundamental capability to live a healthy, functioning life. You're expanding her real freedom, her actual opportunities. And that, Sen argues, is what true development is all about. Okay, so let's see how this whole idea works on a global scale. Now, this quote from Sen, it's one of the most staggering and well-proven facts in all of modern political economy. Seriously, this should make you stop and just think. You look back through history and you see these horrific famines in places run by colonial powers, in one-party states, under military dictatorships. But they just don't happen in functioning democracies. Doesn't matter if the democracy is rich or poor. Why? It's simple, really. Democratic leaders have to face their voters. They have to deal with criticism, and they can't hide from a free press. They have a massive incentive to act, which just goes to show you the incredible protective power of political freedom. But freedom isn't just about protecting us from disaster. It's not just a shield. It's also an engine. It has a creative power. And you can see this incredible creative power so clearly when you look at the role of women's agency, their ability to make their own choices and shape their own lives. The flip side of that, denying women that agency, has absolutely devastating results. Sen points to this horrifying phenomenon of over 100 million missing women around the world. These are women who would be alive today if they'd had the same access to food and healthcare as men. That's a demographic black hole bigger than the entire population of Germany. It's just a silent, chilling testament to the lethal cost of inequality. But here's the powerful inverse of that. When you empower women, when they get education and economic opportunities, they become incredible agents of change.
And this doesn't just help them. The benefits ripple out everywhere. It leads directly to smaller, healthier families and a better quality of life for absolutely everyone. So what about that old argument, that if you just get rich enough, all your problems will be solved, that a rising tide of money fixes everything, including health? Well, the actual data tells a very different story. Take a look at the Indian state of Kerala. They have a very low income per person, but their life expectancy is up there with many wealthy countries. And then you have much richer places like Brazil and South Africa that are way, way behind. What is going on? This just forces us to ask a better question. It's obviously not just about the money. So what's the secret ingredient? What could possibly explain this huge difference in one of our most basic capabilities, the ability to just live a long life?
The answer is social opportunities. The huge difference is that places like Kerala decided to invest in public health and education for everyone, even when they were poor. They didn't wait to get rich first. They focused directly on expanding the capabilities of their people. It proves that how a country uses its money is way more important than how much money it has.
And that brings us right back to the central, most important message of this entire idea. We have to stop thinking about people as just passive patients waiting for aid, as empty buckets for benefits to be poured into from on high. Real development, true progress, is all about empowering people to be the active authors of their own lives. It's about creating a society where every single person has the real freedom and the actual capability to chase their goals and to shape their own destiny.
And look, this way of thinking isn't just for developing nations. It forces us to turn the spotlight back on our own wealthy societies and ask some really tough questions. Where do these unfreedoms still exist for us? What barriers, whether it's lousy healthcare access, failing schools, or social prejudice, are still stopping people from truly living a life they have reason to value? It completely changes the question from how rich are we to how free are we, really?